There has been some debate recently among the Call of Duty community about whether or not Warzone should be separate from the yearly Call of Duty release cycle. So I'm going to give my thoughts on why I think that it should be separate, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. So ever since the disastrous integration with Black Ops 6 into Warzone, I've been very much on the side of Warzone needs to be its own separate entity from the yearly Call of Duty release cycle. And this has been emphasised very recently by this tweet from Call of Duty. The tweet says, Season 3 is a big moment for Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6, and we're taking the time to deliver a great experience starting April 3rd. More to come following Call of Duty Warzone's 5th anniversary next week. Now, the reason why this tweet really prompted me to want to make this video was because that Warzone is actually having a detrimental impact on Call of Duty as a whole. So, Black Ops 6, for me personally, I think it's widely accepted to be the case as well, is actually a pretty solid Call of Duty. It's been one of the more solid and sort of well-polished Call of Duties that we've had in a sweet minute now. The launch was very good. There was a lot of hype around the launch. There was a lot of hype after the launch. People were loving the likes of Omni Movement. To be honest, the only major criticism I've seen of this game is how poor the majority of the multiplayer maps are. And to be fair, the maps that they've added into the game have actually kind of sort of dwindled that argument a little bit. So this is where we've got a really somewhat decent Call of Duty, but the fact that Warzone has been so bad has really hindered, all this goodwill that's been built up. And because of this, it's now delayed Black Ops 6's Season 3. And for me personally, this is an issue because there is plenty of people out there that will just play Black Ops 6 for maybe multiplayer or zombies. And now they're having their experience impacted and seasons delayed and content delayed because of how bad Warzone is. It's nothing actually to do with how bad Black Ops 6 is. It's all Warzone. So because of that, it means that this £70 or $70 game is now being impacted by a free-to-play game, which just doesn't make any sense. Now, I've said it in last week's video, I've been seeing it for weeks, I've been seeing it for months, in fact. I've been seeing it even before Black Ops 6 integrated with Warzone, that the current prestige system that we have on Black Ops 6 does not translate at all to Warzone in the slightest, because one, if you prestige, it locks some things like perks and weapons. An idea of Warzone and its unique selling point back in the day was you can customize, your loadout to be however you want to play. But if you prestige, you can't do that, because say if you want a Sprinter, well, you can't have unlimited attack sprint until you re-unlock Sprinter. It just makes no sense for a Battle Royale sort of style. Next up is the example that I used last week as well, is that when the dance drops, now at the start of April, not March 20th when it was meant to be, we will have a lot of returning players back on the game, and because of that, they will probably have nothing unlocked. So say if the compact, which is unlocked at something like level 49, is the meta SMG, they've got to level their account all the way up to level 49, and then the compact itself has got like 43 weapon levels, which once again means they'll have to level that gun to level 43 to sort of have all the attachments that they might need for that gun. And because of that, they're going to get absolutely on by people using, guess what, the compact. And they'll probably just go, you know what, had enough of this, won't level it up, won't get to that level, and we'll just leave the game. So for me, Warzone needs to be separate, because these guns and these sort of perks and everything else that belong in Warzone just should be unlocked fully across the board. It shouldn't really have a system that relies on Black Ops 6 or anything like that. It should just be its own separate entity where, yes, okay, we maybe get a yearly COD release, and then any XP that we earn in Warzone then transpires across to that yearly COD release. They used to do it back in the day with betas, where you'd earn XP in beta, and then that XP would transfer across to your level on your actual, the main COD release for that year. Then you go back and doing that, because Warzone should just be free to play for everybody. Everybody should have everything unlocked. It should be an equal footing for everybody. And it shouldn't be a case of, because you can grind a lot longer than, say, what other people can, then therefore you've got more things unlocked, that it hinders the people who can maybe only play for an hour or two a week. Now, if you played Fortnite in 2017 and you bought skins back in 2017, and then you went back to the game now, guess what? You can still use those skins, because they still exist. Also, that game will not feel a million miles away different from what you experienced back in 2017 to 2025, purely because the fundamental core of Fortnite has stayed the same. However, the same thing cannot be said for Warzone, because Warzone has reinvented itself that many times in just 5 years that the game is pretty much unrecognizable between what it is now and what it was back when it dropped on March 10th, 2020. Now, you obviously can't go back to Warzone and use your original skins and stuff like that, because they got rid of them. They got rid of Warzone 1, and probably what is the worst decision ever made for this kind of game and sort of live service gaming in general. However, the game also just feels night and day different because of the amount of times they just add new things into the game every year. You just get this extra bloat of sort of like weapons and weapon attachments, and sort of movement system gets overhauled every year. For me personally, this needs to stop. Warzone needs to be separate and basically just given an engine that is just going to be the basis and the sort of, what people can associate with when it comes to Warzone, So say you played Warzone now, in 2025, and you got Omni movement, and then say Warzone somehow manages to survive another 2 or 3 years. You play Warzone now, and you don't play it again until 2028. Warzone should still somewhat feel the same now as it will do 3 years down the line. However, for me personally, with the current cycle that we've got, I can't see that being the case. Also, Raven Software are obviously very much the main development team on Warzone. We've known that for years now. However, they're very much influenced by that year's lead developer on the sort of yearly release of Call of Duty, so Infinity Ward, Treyarch, or Sledgehammer. For me personally, Warzone just needs removing from this sort of cycle, giving to Raven Software full time and say, you know what, that's yours. Yes, okay, Infinity Ward might bring out a new Modern Warfare and you can put those weapons in the game. However, they're not going to be tied to that Modern Warfare or whatever like that. Basically, Raven Software needs full control over Warzone and is told, right, this is the way that you want to go take it. Well, you take it in that direction. Become a dedicated development team for that. Don't have sort of developers from like Infinity Ward and Treyarch dipping in and out of it like every 3 years or so and tweaking things of Warzone and saying, right, okay, we want it to be this year because this is how our game's going to transpire. Look at the state of Modern Warfare 2 and what Infinity Ward did to that. So basically, Warzone being separate means it can have its own sort of dedicated development team that purely focuses on Warzone, no other outside influence from it or anything like that, and that will definitely, as I said before, help give Warzone its identity back. But going forward, we can sit here and talk about Warzone and how we think it should be separate from the rest of the Call of Duty release cycle. However, there might not even be a Warzone in years to come, purely because of we don't know how Verdansk is going to be received when it returns by the player base. We don't know if it's going to bring players back to the game and keep them on the game. We just don't know. We can't sort of predict the future. And then there's this tweet that released from Ghost of Hope about the 2026 COD release, which is going to be Infinity Wards. Essentially, it's going to be Modern Warfare 4, we think. They released this tweet where it seems like they are planning a Call of Duty without Warzone. So the tweet says, exclusive details for Modern Warfare 4 2026. So there's going to be no old gen support. I don't think that's really any surprise to anybody like that. Traditional UI, like the older games, more traditional than Black Ops 6. For me, personally, that is a huge win. The engine being overhauled to address Modern Warfare 2 problems like visual clutter, etc. Basically, when we get all the shake and recall and stuff like that, that'll be a big win as well. Being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. So this is going to transcend probably this generation and then into the next generation as well. And then this is the key point. It says, no Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current/returning players. Now, you can look at that last point in a few ways, really. For me personally, I kind of see it as, well, if Verdansk fails, there'll probably be no more Warzone, which, I mean, we kind of know anyway. I think this game's sort of player base is dwindling day by day now, and if there's nothing exciting coming to Warzone in the near future, then guess what? That player base will definitely not stick around, it definitely won't stay, it definitely won't improve, it will just go, and we all know that for a fact. However, it also kind of gives me an idea that they are somewhat planning to have a Call of Duty without a Warzone release, which, for me, is kind of a little bit like, you could probably release a Modern Warfare 4 without a Warzone side of it, and one, have a good Modern Warfare game, if it's done well, because the last few were not, we'll hold our hands and say Infinity Ward have been a bit rough on the old Modern Warfare games recently. However, it could also just say that Infinity Ward have nothing to do with Warzone, and it could be just given to a sole development team to look after Warzone for that year. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts on the future of Warzone. Do you think it should be separate from Call of Duty, or do you think it should be kept in with the yearly Call of Duty cycle? And I'll catch you in the next one.